Hey, also, I just wanted to give you a warm-up with each kind of problem for solving quadratics before you get into the quiz. So we've done square roots, factoring, and completing the square. So we'll do one of each. So first, solving with the square root. Remember, the goal here is to isolate the squared variable or isolate the squared term and then take a square root. So isolate squared term and then take a square root. So in this case, our squared term is this x squared. That square is not on the 2, so we have to get everything out except for just that x squared. So first we would move this 4 to the other side. So that gives us 2x squared is 18. Again, before we can take a square root, we have to get the term completely by itself. So unless there's parentheses, it should just be the x squared term. And x squared, 18 divided by 2 is 9. Once you have it by itself, then you can take the square root of both sides. And then remember, whenever you take a square root, you have to have a positive or negative, plus or minus. So our answers here are 3 and negative 3. If there was more to do after, if there are parentheses in there, we might have to add or subtract after the fact. Remember, you just split to 3 and negative 3, and then you would go from there. So there's your square root. Quick review. If you did not get all this written down, pause and write it down, look through it. Really make sure you're understanding the steps as we go. You can control my pace in these videos. Next one, solving by factoring. Keep in mind you can always pause. So next, solving by factoring. So for factoring, your first goal, remember you have to get the equation equal to 0, or else factoring does not do anything for you. So set equal to 0 first. So in this case, that means getting the 2 to the other side. That 2 cannot combine with anything. There are no like terms. So we have 3x squared minus 5x plus 2, oops, there we go, equals 0. Once you have it equal to 0, then the whole goal is to factor so that you turn this big 3 pieces of addition into multiplication. So to factor, that means the box method. So we fill in our 3x squared and our 2, multiply those, 6x squared, so we're looking for factors of 6 that add to negative 5. So our only choices are 1 and 6, or 2 and 3. 2 and 3 add to positive 5, so it's going to have to be a negative 2x and a negative 3x. And it doesn't matter if you flip-flop where those two go in the box, as long as they're in that backwards diagonal. So from there, we're taking our GCF out. So we have a negative 2, a 3x, just a plain x, and a negative 1. Quick check. Those all work. So we have 3x minus 2, x minus 1. So the whole reason we factored was so we could split and solve each separately. So split factors. Use the 0 product property. That's what we're doing. And set equal to 0. So we have 3x minus 2 equals 0. And x minus 1 equals 0. And now to finish up, we just solve each separately. So in this case, we would add 2 first to get 3x equals 2. Divide by 3, and we get x equals 2/3 for one answer. On this side, we would add 1 to both sides. Get x equals 1 for the other answer. So there's your quick review for factoring. Now our last possible method. Again, pause if you want to take a second, write this down, look through the steps. Again, if I move in quick, you can slow me down. Last one, solve by completing the square. So this is what we just did on Thursday. For this one, the goal was to make this x squared minus 8x, figure out what we can add to it to make it a perfect square. So our first step is to move that 2 to the other side. So we still have x squared minus 8x, and now I'm going to leave a little blank in here because our goal is to figure out how to make this so it is perfect binomial with the square on the outside. So if you're using the box to help with this, this means we know that there's an x squared there. And then we know that these spots have to be the same number, and they have to add to -8. Well, the only thing that can add to itself to make -8 would be a 4 and a 4. And then since it's negative, they both need to be a -4. So we know 8 is -4x minus 4x. Well, now if we think about our box, we pull our GCF out of here and we get an x. Out of this one, we get an x. Well, an x times something to equal -4x would be a -4. So that means this last spot of the box right here, -4 times -4, is a +16. So that adds to both sides of the equation. Again, without using the box, that shortcut is we take this middle term, divide it by 2, -8 divided by 2 gives us -4, and we square it. So that's what we add to both sides. So that means in our parentheses, it's this factor piece, it's these outside parts. This factor is to be x minus 4 squared. So hopefully you can see how inside the box is this x squared minus 8x plus 16. The outer sides of the box are x minus 4. They still all represent the same expression. And then on the right side of the equation, we have -2 plus 16 from these, so that gives us 14. So now to finish off, the whole point of this was so we can now get rid of the square to solve for x. So we can take the square root of both sides. X minus 4 equals plus or minus square root of 14. 14, we should probably check to see if that can simplify. So 2 and 7. Oh, and that's it. So no simplifying to worry about there. All we need to do is add our 4 to the other side. So we have x equals plus or minus the square root of 14 plus 4. So for this quiz today, you're going to be keeping your answers in simplest radical form, similar to that. Make sure if the radical can simplify, you do that. If you have any questions before you get started or as you're in it, if you aren't sure I'm asking, please let me know. I will be available as always. Good luck, and hopefully you can show me how you can do each of these processes.